Today we're going to explore the concept of quartiles, which is a measure of position in statistics. We're still in the fourth step of our data cycle, which is to summarize and analyze data. As we said in the last lesson, there are several different types of descriptive statistics. These are numbers that summarize data. We went through measures of central tendency previously, and today we're starting with measures of position, talking about quartiles. In our next lesson, we'll do percentiles. Here's a simple example that we looked at yesterday, in which we found the mean, median, and mode. Now you remember specifically with the median that we put the values in ascending order first, and then we counted from the outside, basically, to figure out what the middle value was. If there were two middle values, we took the average of the two. Let's look at this again. So this is the same set of values, just in ascending order like it is in the box in the top right corner. What we see is that the median splits the data into two perfectly equal pieces. So I have three values on the left-hand side in the bottom half, and I have three values on the right-hand side in the top half. So I've split the median, splits the data into halves, the lower 50% and the upper 50%. So the median is a measure of central tendency, but it's also a measure of position because it tells us which data value, in this case 5, is the middle point of all the data. Now, when we start talking about quartiles, the word quartile should make you think of the word quarter, and that's exactly what it is. So instead of splitting the data into two equal pieces, we're now going to split it into 4. Let's look at our same data set. To split it into 4 pieces, we need to first split it in half, so find the median. And then I need to find the median of the bottom half. So I'm going to exclude 5, so I've crossed 5 out, that's not part of it anymore, and I'm only interested in the first 3 numbers. I can see that the middle number here is 2. Likewise, if I look at the top half of the data, I'm looking at 5, 7, and 8, and I can see that my middle value here is 7. So I've split my data into 4 pieces. And each of these values are called quartiles. So quartile 1, which we abbreviate as Q1, would be 2. Quartile 2, which is another word for the median, is 5. And quartile 3 is 7. And we can summarize, so each of these breaks it up into 25% portions, meaning that we've broken it up into quarters. Now we can summarize all of these values. It's always good when you finish a problem to summarize the values at the bottom so they're all together. Okay, so quartiles. Quartiles divide the data into 4 equal parts. And to find the quartiles, just like with the median, I put the values in ascending order. Find the median first. This is quartile 2. Then I exclude the median, and I take half of the lower half of the data, meaning I take the median again of the bottom half. And quartile 3, I take the median of the top half. Easy enough. Another example. So pause the video and see if you can follow the instructions from the previous exercise to find the quartiles here. Let's see how you did. So my first step is to put all the values in ascending order, from lowest to highest. From there, I need to figure out my median. Now, when the data set is small enough, I can cover the numbers from the outside, working my way in with my hands until I reach the middle value or values. Let's see what that looks like. So cover up the values and then slowly work my way inwards until I reach my middle value. Here I see that I have 2 middle values of 4 and 5. So when I have two middle values, I need to take the average between them. So the middle value here is going to be 4,5. And if you're not sure how I got that, refer to yesterday's video. So my quartile 2, or the median, is 4,5. Now to work out quartile 1, I take the median of the first half of the data. So I'm not going to show the hands in this case, but I'm excluding this new value of 4,5 and only starting to count from 4. So counting inwards, I can see that 2 and 3 are both middle values. Taking the average of these two, I get quartile 1 is 2.5. Looking at the top half of the data, start counting from 5 and working my way inwards, I see that 6 and 8 are both middle values, and taking the average of these two, I get my third quartile as 7. Again, just at the bottom of the page, or of the problem I mean, summarize the values so that it's easy for your teacher to find them. In our last example today, we were returning to that problem that we did in lesson 1, which was about this company Vitamania that wants to market to people who regularly take multivitamins. So remember from that example with this histogram. And we talked in that lesson about who might be interested in this. If you're someone who does marketing, you might focus on certain age groups. So let's delve into that a little bit deeper now using quartiles. Let's find the quartiles for this data. Remember that our first step is to put the data into ascending order. Now that was easy enough when we had very small sets of data. But this one, I have 66 data points. I have 6 values going down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I have 11 going across. So I have 66 data values, which is going to take a long time to put them in ascending order. But fortunately, hopefully you're thinking along the same lines as I am. Fortunately, in the previous lesson, we already put them in ascending order because we made a stem and leaf diagram. So stem and leaf diagram automatically puts the values in ascending order. And sometimes when you have questions dealing with quartiles, you'll be given just the stem and leaf plot, and you have to work from that. So looking at the stem and leaf plot that we've already made, let's try and work out our median. Now trying to count in on a stem and leaf plot is really challenging, because you can try and cover up this number and this number at the same time, but then you have to move to this one, this one, this one, and it's very easy to make a mistake trying to do that. So rather, when you have big data sets, we rather use that formula that I showed you yesterday for median. The formula that we used was the position of the median, in this case I've called it quartile 2, was equal to n plus 1 over 2. Now I've added in this other form of this formula. It's the same thing. All I've done is I've taken the half out and I've put it in the front. And I've done this just because the book uses this format as well, and there's really no difference. Remember that n stands for the number of values, so we said that this was 66. Substituting in, we get half of 67, which is 33.5. Now it's very important that you realize that 33.5 is the position. So this tells me that the median, or quartile 2, lies between the 33rd and 34th values. Now I need to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., etc., etc. I get to my 33rd value, and I can see that if I take the average of the 33rd and the 34th values, I'm going to get 46.5. So halfway between 46 and 47. Now, of course, this requires you to be able to read the stem and leaf. So if you're not sure where I got those numbers from, go back and watch the video for lesson 1. All right, so the median of quartile 2 is 46.5. Now that we know the median, let's work out quartile 1 and quartile 3. Again, we could just count, but it's not easy to count on a stem and leaf diagram, and it's not easy to count when you have a lot of data values. So rather, we're going to make use of a formula again. Remember that the position of the median, we use this formula half of n plus 1. The median is the halfway point, and we know that quartile 1 is the halfway point of the first half of the data, and quartile 3 is the halfway point of the second half of the data. So I can use this exact same formula to work out quartile 1 and quartile 3. Quartile 1, instead of n being 66, I'm now using 33 because the first half of my data has 33 values. So substituting in, I have 33 plus 1 is 34, divided by 2 gives me 17. So now all I have to do is count 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., until I get to the 17th value. And the 17th value is at 33. Now to double check that this is right, remember that I'm trying to split the data into equal portions. So I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 until I get, this is the 16th value. So if I start counting from here to this point, I should also get 16, and on and on. So to work out quartile 3, you could count from 47 and count 16 values, or you could use the same formula, half of n plus 1. N is still 33 because the top half of the data also has 33 values. So we start counting from 47 because it's not blocked off. So from 47 is my first value, and start counting from here. 17 numbers gets me to 57. So 57 is quartile 3. Again, you need to summarize these at the bottom, and notice I've put units here just because in this example, it's not just numbers. These are ages of people, so we need to include the units. Right, that's all for today. So for homework, you're going to do page 230 to 231, exercise 3, A, D, G, and H. H is a little bit more challenging. So I suggest that if you have questions about this, message your teachers on Google Classroom, or you can bring them up in our next Q&A session, which will be on Friday. Good luck!